need to finally get this freaking car off of this rotisserie. Let's see if we can get all the miscellaneous fabrication projects done this weekend. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Block Garage. I'm Brian, and like I just mentioned, we need to get this car off the rotisserie. It's been up here way too long. We really don't have that much left. Most of it is just little fabrication stuff that we can bust out real quick. So what we need to do, we've got this spot right here where I had to cut out for the Mustang Super 8.8 diff to fit. So we got to patch that in. We got this one spot up here on the inner fender well that needs to be repaired. I think that's it for actual sheet metal repair. We'll do a once over on the car. Obviously, all the surface rust like this stuff needs to be cleaned up, but we don't need to do that right now. We'll do that when we're prepping for actually putting the epoxy primer on. The other thing I would like to do is I use QuickJacks to lift the car up and down, obviously when it's not on the rotisserie, and they don't fit very well in this car. It's much shorter than my C6, so I think I can make it work. Right now, the only way to get it to work and not have it in on the frame rails, which I could do, but it's kind of narrow. I'd rather have it out here at the pinch welds, but going off the pinch welds, it really puts weight on the fender because it's like way up here, and then we're way back here. Don't have any good place to put it. You got this little pocket right here for the seat belt, but I don't know if we should really put weight on that. So what I'm thinking is maybe we build a couple boxes right here, come off of the pinch weld in, and tie in back here somewhere, just to put a little flat panel on all four corners where the QuickJack could pick up. So I don't know, that's the plan. We'll have to do some measuring and figure out if it's even going to work. But yeah, we don't need much talking today. Let's jump right into it and fill that hole that we made for the Mustang diff to fit. So for anybody else that's putting the Super 8.8 diff with the Apex kit in the rear of a 280Z, this is where I'm going to cut it. Right now it's very tight. Actually, it was touching a little bit here when I had it in the car. That was just a quick trim from underneath just to get it fitting, but to make enough room so I'm not worried about it hitting or anything. There's an indent right here where the stock diff needed a recess. I'm going to cut it right here on this body line where it folds down, and all the way over where it folds back up here, and same thing over here. And then you want to be about 1.5 inches down from this surface here and cut it right there, and that'll give you plenty of room. So just a tip if anybody else is doing the same thing. Up top here, just past where that starts bending in, there's some additional support on the inside for where the stock suspension bolts on. There's two uprights right here and here. The Apex kit does not use those, so I'm gonna just trim that off so we got the extra space. There we go, that turned out pretty well, I think. If you couldn't tell, I just made this part out of angle iron. It's just reversed, obviously. It's just some leftover stuff I had from doing those seat mounts. And then we capped the ends. Pretty simple, you know. But yeah, real happy with that. That turned out real nice, I think. And we got plenty of room there for the rear diff. By the way, the reason I used angle iron is this stuff here is thicker than the regular sheet metal on the car. So I wanted something thicker. That's why I had some of that angle iron lying around. Worked perfect. So with that part done at the back there that we just finished, we're gonna move up here inside the front wheel well. This is the driver's side. And I mentioned this in a couple videos ago. We have a little bit of rust right here underneath the shock tower. There's actually two panels here. You got the panel for the whole inner fender basically, and then the shock tower is spot welded on. It's obviously right here, but it extends down to about here. And it's, if you guys can see, there's a bunch of spot welds along here. So we've built up some rust in between there. And actually, I just noticed on this side, it actually came through a little bit right there. So I don't want to cut all this structure out and have stuff move and everything. I think what I'm going to do is just cut a little rectangle out right here. We've got some bulging right here between these two spot welds, so I'm guessing there's probably some rust built up right there too. It just hasn't come through. So I'm going to go very lightly and just cut through the outside layer, not cut through the shock tower layer on the back side as best I can. And see what it looks like once we got this little bit cut out right here. I'm going to have to cut around this one spot weld. That rust in there is a lot thicker than I anticipated, being between two pieces of sheet metal. Because of that, I think I'm going to basically cut inside of the outermost, you know, right here, spot welds. That way we get the maximum amount of rust removed, and I'm probably going to have to cut out that one square on the other side that we looked at from the inside. But yeah, I definitely think it's worth cutting out more of that right there, just because of how much rust was built up in between there. So there was quite a bit of rust throughout this whole thing here, just like that little section we did there. But I don't think it's enough that we need to cut this whole thing out and, you know, or separate these panels or anything. Ideally, you know, if you had the unlimited time and money, you'd separate every single panel, because every panel has rust in between them. There's no way they don't at this point. But it's just not feasible to completely disassemble the whole car. So we gotta do the best we can. So I think what I'm gonna do is, there's some pitting where we had that rust right there, and a little bit right here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a smaller rectangle out right here where that pitting is, and then we'll just fill in this panel here. We'll fill in from the inside there, that smaller panel, and call it good. Yeah, there's quite a bit of material left there. I think that shock tower plate's gotta be thicker sheet metal than this. Yeah, it's definitely a little thicker sheet metal, so that's good. That means we got plenty of strength there. I got some rust encapsulator in there, some weld through primer on the back here. Let's get this welded in. All right, both sides are looking good, all done. Happy with them. Didn't take much work, honestly. It was pretty easy. I probably spent more time waiting for the freaking rust encapsulator to dry than I did actually fixing anything. But yeah, that's all done. So let's move on. All right, like I mentioned, I want to do something to make the QuickJacks easier to use. I don't like how right now, when I put it on the pinch weld, it sits on the fender, the bottom of the fender itself. I don't want it messing up the fender. Plus, the pinch welds aren't super strong themselves. So I've been messing around and I came up with an idea. Basically, the back one I'm going to have set on that pocket right there for the seat belt. That's where the seat belt winds up inside. It's a couple layers there. It should be plenty strong enough. I might look into reinforcing it a little bit. But up front here, I don't really have any options. You know, I could just put it on the floor there. I don't think the floor is strong enough to not dent over time. So what I'm going to do is, I've thought about this for a while, gone back and forth, I'm going to use some of this stuff here. I don't even remember where this came from, but it is insanely thick. And basically, I mean, obviously that's way too big, but it's gonna kind of set in there like that. I'm gonna put it on the inside of the pinch weld here and we'll weld it to the pinch weld. That way we got some nice strength right there to give this strength. And then the inside's gonna weld in here on the floor. I'm gonna cut this, you know, somewhere like here and here to get this the same height as at the back. However, that still puts a lot of stress right there on the floor. So I got this leftover plate from when we made the transmission cross member. I'm gonna plate just like that, right against the floor basically. It's gonna weld right here and it's gonna tie in down here on the pinch weld. And then we'll put our piece up there to weld on this here and then still down on the pinch weld here. So it'll be triangulated. Any force here will be forced into the pinch weld. Should be plenty strong enough, especially where, you know, this isn't a main jacking point. It's just for when I'm using the QuickJack. So there's not a ton of weight right there. It's gonna be, you know, approximately a fourth of the car's weight. The load should be distributed enough that that should be strong enough all the way around. But yeah, let's jump right into it and get that welded on. There we go, check that out. Happy with that. I got it all boxed in. You know, I boxed in the ends, that way moisture can't get in there and just sit there, although it probably would have been fine, but figured I might as well do it. So that gives me a nice flat surface there for the QuickJack to sit against. Very happy with that. It'll be much better when I'm putting it on the QuickJacks in the future. Still haven't decided if I want to reinforce that at all. I'm sure it's fine, but maybe well, we got a stitch weld anyway, so maybe the stitch welding we do in the future, I'll just do that real quick. But yeah, done with that. So I'm gonna go do the other side real quick and we'll be done with this project. And there we go, got the passenger side all done. I made sure they were 100% level height-wise, you know, so when we put it on the QuickJacks, the car is not like trying to tip or something like that. and we're spot on, so good to go. But that's about it for this video. I didn't get what I needed to finish the roof. That's why we're working on this stuff here. So hopefully next video you guys will see the roof. It should be here anytime. And like I've mentioned before, literally all we have to do is weld the roof skin on. So look forward to that. We've only got a few things left to bust out before this thing is ready to paint and undercoat and take off of the rotisserie. So that's exciting. The big thing is the stitch welding, which is going to be a lot of work, I think. Mostly in the cleanup. You know, I got to get those seams all perfectly clean. That way when we go to weld, you know, our welds aren't all full of holes and everything. But to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I've never done full stitch welding on a car before. So anyways, yeah, that's basically what's coming up. And then we can throw some primer under here and some undercoating and take this thing off the rotisserie. But don't forget, guys, there's merch available. We got t-shirts, sweatshirts, a bunch of other stuff that you can pick up, hats, coffee mugs, whatever, with the Block Garage logo on the front and the back of the shirts. You can click the shop button below or go to blockgarage.myspreadshop.com and that'll take you there. You know, we got a bunch of different stuff. And the couple of bucks that I make off of each one helps support the build. It's just really cool to see people interested in buying my stuff though. But I'm gonna sign out here. Leave me some comments, like the video, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in, hopefully, the roof video next.